Hello and welcome. Another edition of our Coach's Corner segment, where every Thursday I try to speak with college coaches from all levels, all divisions, to allow families, student athletes to gain some insight that will help them when they're choosing their college opportunities. And today we're going to be talking to the brand new head coach at University of South Carolina, Aiken, which is a prestigious program, a lot of history, a lot of great alumni from Major League alumni that have gone to that school, and a coach that's very familiar with the NCAA Division II level, former coach at Barton College, and now new head coach at USC Aiken, Keith Gorman. And Keith, I really want to say it's a pleasure to meet you and a great opportunity to speak with you.
Coach, thank you so much for having me, and excited to be here and to talk about USC Aiken baseball and Division II baseball. Thank you for all you're doing to grow our game as well. So thank you very much.
You're very, very welcome. And you and I were kind of talking before we got started, and I always try to impress upon parents that the Division II level is what I call the steady Eddie. It's one of those conferences we don't see a lot of migration out to go up or out to go down. We kind of see it's a very consistent level of college baseball, and USC Aiken has a very, very prominent history within the NCAA Division II landscape, especially in the southeast area of the country. Talk a little bit about what made you want to become that head coach at USC Aiken, but more importantly, that area of the country and its fertile area of talent.
Yeah, first of all, USC Aiken, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, what a great tradition of success they've had there with some great coaches. And I'll go back, Randy Warwick, Gary Gilmore before he went to
Right.
Coastal,
Right.
Kenny Thomas, so all of those guys. I mean, if you look at their win percentage, I mean, it's incredible what those guys were doing for a long time and the great players that they had coming through that program. So the alumni are very supportive there. So that's very exciting for me, so there's a lot of positive things. And then you look at the Roberto Hernandez Stadium, the facility there, it's a minor league stadium. It is a great, great facility. It has a mid-major feel, even better than that in a way. Great clubhouse with a classroom. Everything is right there, and the facilities are great, and we'll only improve on those. Obviously, I'm not moving out of the Southeast region, coming from Barton to USC Aiken. I'm very familiar with the Southeast region. What a brutally, brutally tough region this is. And if you just look at what happened this year with all the regions, I mean, there was really great teams in the Southeast region that didn't even, you could say didn't get close to getting in a regional with the Division II setup not being nationally seeded. So I am really excited to be able to continue to recruit to such a great academic institution and athletic baseball institution in a great region. So I think we'll be able to really eventually get some really great athletes back to USC Aiken and do some special things and hopefully make some noise in this region and then ultimately nationally.
Well, I when we're talking, as in general with regard to this new settlement and everything else, really the terms like mid-major and Division II and Division III, all those lines are blurred now because the talent level across all of college baseball is fairly similar, especially those Division I programs that might have been hoarding arms, and they're all going to get access to a school like USC Aiken. Where does the high school athlete fit with regard to your recruiting process? And I know you are a fan of development, so that may be a perfect fit for the high school athlete at USC Aiken.
Absolutely. I'm a former junior college guy too, so
Yep.
I am grounded in player development in all areas, not just on the field, but off the field as well. I mean, that's what I love. Practice is my time. The game is their time, so I really do like players that are hungry to be developed. And certainly the high school player. There is still great room for the high school player. We are going to try to do a really good job at USC Aiken of having a balanced recruiting classes. We are going to need a couple of impact high school players, which are going to be out there maybe more than they've ever been for the Division II level with roster restrictions and
Right.
the portal and all of those things. I mean, look at how late some of the Power Four schools are recruiting now. That never used to happen. They weren't recruiting guys in August for their current roster or late July. So, that has an impact on the high school players. And fortunately for us, we'll be the beneficiary of that. But we do have to have a balanced recruiting model. We're going to have some really good junior college players. We're going to have some really good portal guys from four-year institutions come. So, but if you look at some of the guys that I had at Barton, some of my best players there were guys we grabbed out of the high school level, and fortunately we're able to keep them and develop them, and they became really good players and impact players in the Southeast region. So that's what we'll look to do here. I just want to make sure we're balanced. I think if you go one way or another, whether you're heavy portal, heavy junior college, heavy high school, I don't know that that's going to be a recipe that will create consistent success, in my opinion.
Way back in the day when I was playing and dinosaurs roamed the earth, it was never the expectation for the younger underclassmen to get, playing time. They learned and kind of grew with the upperclassmen. Can you talk a little bit about, from a parent's perspective, the expectations of making that transition from high school to college? I think there's this huge void, this Grand Canyon of what's real and what the expectations are. Talk a little bit about that transition from high school or travel ball into college, and the significance or the importance of preparing for the fall at college level, as well as the competition level during the fall. Can you talk a little bit about how to really prepare for that as a high school athlete?
Yeah, it's a great point. And I think there's a lot of factors that have led to that. Certainly travel ball has had a major impact on that, where you have maybe smaller teams and there's not a whole lot of sit in the bench in youth baseball anymore, which is a really positive thing because you have to play baseball to get better. You cannot get better by sitting on the bench. But, maybe the negative side of that is it creates an unrealistic expectation that I'm going to go into college and play from day one, especially in today's age with a very older college baseball roster at every level. The physicalness of a 22-year-old, 21-year-old as compared to a 17, 18-year-old in many cases is really a large separation. So my suggestion to parents is they really need to investigate and not close the door on any level, any situation. Find the place where their son is going to have a chance to get better, number one. That should be the number one goal. Not, am I going to be in the 3-hole or the 4-hole? You still have to earn those things in college baseball, and they need to understand that. And there's really good players all over, and it doesn't matter whether their son was an all-state player or an all-region player. College is chock full of those guys, and so that really does not matter. But if I were, what I will do with my son, if he's lucky enough to play, is we're going to look for a place, number one, that I believe the coaching staff is going to develop my son, whether he's the number one player on the depth chart or the number 34 player on the depth chart. I want him coached, and I want him coached daily, and I want him pushed hard. So that is what I will look for, as a parent. And then number two, I need to be very realistic about where my son is at that point in their development. Am I going to be patient, knowing that, hey, it might take a year or a year and a half for my son to crack in the lineup, which is pretty much what is happening all the time. But that same token, I also want to know at some point my son does have the ability to play at this level at this college. And he's going to get that opportunity as long as he works hard and continues to develop through their program and the work that their coaching staff puts in. So for me, those are the two most important things. Can they get better there through their development process? And at some point, do they have the God-given ability to play at that level within 18 months to 2 years?
And, prior to having our conversation, talked to a lot of coaches that I said, hey, I'm going to be talking with Keith. And one of the things that struck me, some of the feedback from some of the coaches was, boy, Keith really creates a well-rounded development on and off the field. And I found that because typically I always get feedback about pitching
Yep.
forte or hitting forte, but everybody I talked to, when I asked them about you a little bit to gain some insight, said, boy, he develops men. So I would love for you to share from a parent's perspective some of the things that baseball teaches, life
Yep.
lessons that last long beyond their playing careers, that really play a significant role with regard to the college experience as a collective whole.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I'm so glad and honored that people are saying that about me, and that is really meaningful. You know, I believe I try to treat all my players, like my children. I am very demanding of my children and have high expectations of them. So I try to do that with all the young men that come into my program. What I want them to experience at my program is they are going to get a top notch effort from my coaching staff on the field. That is going to happen, but also they are going to be expected to be great young men in the classroom who achieve, because they will have to make money in some other profession besides baseball
Right.
at some point, most likely. So the classroom is a huge piece. I am very, very conscious of how my players are representing themselves on the campus and in the classroom. We have some non-negotiables, to be quite honest with you, that happen there. I am not real flexible when it comes to how we are going to represent ourselves on the campus and in the classroom. And I think that becomes a very easy thing once that's established, because the players know that and communicate that to each other, and that just becomes the way of USC Aiken baseball, for example. That's just the way of life on campus. We are going to be great ambassadors in the community. We will do a lot of community service. I believe in that. I live in the communities I'm working in. I want our young men to be seen as productive citizens in that community. I believe that will help them engage in their own communities when they get out of there. So those two things are enormously important to me. And I am an extremely competitive person, and to a fault sometimes. But I believe at my core that if we are doing things right in every area, the classroom, in the community, that will transition to the baseball field. There is no doubt in my mind. It just creates a focus, a discipline, an attention to detail that I think creates a winning culture on the field. So those things are really important to me. I try not to be overly flexible in those key standards. Once you start becoming too flexible with that, it does then end up becoming more about that single win on the field, as opposed to the holistic view of the program and all of the young men in our program. So yeah, that is just what we try to do daily, and try to live out daily. And I do think that has a direct impact on how we perform on the field as well.
Well, I think that's a really a critical component for a lot of parents and student athletes that are going through the recruiting process. You have to understand the bigger picture. Baseball is a part of the college experience. It does not make up the entirety of the college experience. I want to let parents know that anything that you're looking to find out, not only about USC Aiken, but possibly the Peach Belt Conference, the schools located within the Peach Belt, you can find that on the Baseball Blue Book. You can create your profile. Coach Gorman has a profile on there. It's already been updated when he moved over from Barton to USC Aiken. So encourage you to go, download your videos, but make sure you take a peek inside USC Aiken. And Coach, I think a lot of parents have this understanding that the talent level that they're competing against at the high school level versus peers of 15 to 19 will, kind of translate into college success. Talk a little bit about, not only now at USC Aiken, but at Barton. What's the pitching like? What are some of the metrics? What are some of the foot speed metrics that really it takes to play at that NCAA Division II level?
Yeah, the talent level at the NCAA Division II level is really good. Now there might be some athletes who are really, really strong, offensively, or their power numbers, maybe they're a little weaker defensively, so there's some of that where guys are maybe more of a one tool, but it's a special one tool. It might be a pro
Right.
level
Right.
one tool. So there is some of that, but in the Peach Belt, in the Southeast region, you're going to see really three great starting pitchers on the weekend. You'll see low 90s with the ability to locate a breaking ball, and then probably one more out pitch. The middle of the bullpen, you're going to see some mid to upper 80s, and that type of a player. But all of the good teams in the Southeast region, they're going to have a very good bullpen, some back end guys that, might be, power fastball, power slider guy, low to mid 90s type of guy. And then also the guys who do not throw that hard. You've got a bunch of great upper 80s pitchers in this region that can really pitch. I mean, really understand how to move the baseball in and out and change eye levels and set up hitters. And so there's some real crafty, pitchers at this level too. But you have highly talented guys. I mean, at Barton last year, we had, upwards of 8, 9, 10 guys in the 90s. And, I don't know that used to happen at the Division II baseball level, or even the Division I baseball level years ago.
Right.
So, yeah. And then from a position player standpoint, Division II is a very offensive level. I've tried to block that a little bit, especially at Barton, with really an emphasis on pitching and defense. But it is a very offensive level. You got guys that can really drive the baseball, but you also have some really highly talented speed guys. I would say in general, and an average speed for most, Division II baseball players are going to average around, a 7.0, 7.1, with some of your more exceptional athletes being in that 6.6 to 6.9 range. You won't see a lot of clunkers out there running the bases at the Division II level, maybe unless it's just a really high offensive kid who can drive the ball and hit a bunch of home runs. But the talent level is really high. And, at Barton, we had multiple guys last year who performed very well, and they were really balanced players. So I think some of the best teams that you're seeing it at the Division II World Series right now, has some really balanced, talented guys who run well, can drive the ball, and also have good arms, and an advanced idea of how to hit as well.
Would you encourage families or athletes to maybe either participate in a upcoming camp, or maybe attend a weekend and see the practices and the inner squads? In other words, games, during the spring are kind of running simultaneously to the high school athlete, but during the fall, there's a lot of opportunities for parents not only to visit the campus and see the campus, but to come watch you practice and really see what it takes to be a part of the USC Aiken program.
Yeah, Coach, awesome question. I get that question all the time. So something I do at my prospect camps is right after I present myself to the players and talk to them about the day that is in front of them, I go over and grab the parents. And I know that they really appreciate that. It's probably not everybody's favorite thing to do, but the parents love it. And I try to really give them some facts, because as you know, in baseball and in recruitment in any sport, there's a lot of information that's just not accurate. So my message to the parents, number one, is, hey, you bringing your son here is a really positive thing. It's going to help the coaching staff evaluate whether your son can play here. And it's also going to help you and your son evaluate, hey, is this the level, the conference, the region that I can play in? So I continue to tell parents that if you are interested in a college, go to their prospect camp. And also make sure you stand out there. That's the one thing I tell the players, something has to stand out to us. Don't move around slow today. Play with great energy and passion and enthusiasm. Show us who you are, so that we can really take a great look at you. But in my opinion, right now, with the way things are structured for high school students, they need to go to prospect camps of the colleges that they see that might be a great fit for them academically, athletically, and socially?
So this is a question I think I'm comfortable asking you. I haven't really asked this of many
Mhm.
coaches. And I want to talk about the willingness for athletes in today's college environment about being persistent, overcoming mental challenges, physical challenges. You're not always going to feel 100% with regard to your body or your mindset and things like that. But one of the things that I always try to get parents to understand is think of the coach's perspective. They're not out to hurt your student athlete, but they want to challenge them not only with their physical skill sets, but their mental discipline and mental toughness. Can you talk about that as a skill that we do not talk enough about? Because that high school athlete is kind of, they can put their season in a little 3 month box, but a college athlete is 11
Yeah.
months out of the year, every year. Talk a little bit about that mental dynamic as a college student athlete.
Man, it's such a great question. I'm glad you asked it because we spend a lot of time on it. And I'll give you a good example because you said something that jogged my memory. The weight room is really important for us. It has always been a huge piece of my program. The guys know it's an emphasis. I believe we have a great environment in the weight room. I ask our guys, do they think that the strength training coaches are excited when we show up? So I try to really put our guys in the place of the people that are trying to help them get better. Do you guys think that the strength coach is jacked up to go to work today because he knows the baseball team is coming in? And
Right.
if he's not, that's our problem. That's your
Right.
problem. There's a reason. So I think with today's athletes, getting them out of the self image world that is there and it's not going anywhere, and there's nothing wrong with that. But understanding, hey, I'm part of a bigger thing here, and I can create great feelings and enthusiasm in the people I'm around, even the people that are coaching me, is a really important thing for them to understand. On the With that, mental health is a major focus in the NCAA right now, and rightfully so. So we are focused on that as a coaching staff. I don't know that that was a big focus when I started my coaching career.
Yeah.
I
Right.
mean, we had a couple of the mental skills of baseball and those types of things, but that wasn't a big focus, but it is now, and I think it's a positive thing. What we try to do in my program is number one, never ignore that, but number
Right.
two, talk about ways to create resiliency in our players. We have a saying in my program, and the saying is next. So we attribute
Bingo.
that to everything. Umpire calls you out on a bad pitch, which is going to happen at the Division II level. Next, let's move on. We got bad news at home. Someone's really sick at home. Next, what can I do to help that situation? What can I do to help move the people around me forward in that situation? So again, we are looking at the focus of not the self, but how do we move forward and help those people around us, which is in turn going to help us individually at the same time. So I really focus on the guys' resiliency mentally, physically, emotionally, all of that. I believe that we can do a really great job for our young people, teaching them, to be more resilient, to be more tough, but also take the focus off themselves and be better teammates, be better, be more coachable, be better students in the classroom. All of those things will lead to more positive for them, which is their why. They want to get better in every area of their life, and I really believe that creating some resiliency in them is a quick way. I don't want to say quick way, but a really great way and efficient way to get more of what they truly want.
I always used to say to my boys, my
Yeah.
sons, being persistent and being resilient will lead to consistency, and consistency will lead to opportunity. And if we instill that in our athletes when they're young, obviously they carry that beyond the college days and into their profession and into their families, future families as well. parents, I want to stress something. This world of college athletics, we get so consumed with the athletic and the scholarship and the results, as opposed to the process. And so, finding a coach like Coach Gorman is really something that you're putting a life mentor into your student athlete's life, not only for the 4 or 5 years as a college student, but far beyond. I mean, Coach Gorman has athletes that played for him at Bartlett and Cumberland community, decades, 2 decades. And those people are still part of his life in some capacity. So when you're looking at college opportunities, it's important to understand who you're putting into your student athlete's path, not only as a college athlete, but well beyond that. And coach, you absolutely 100% are the type of mentor that I would be extremely proud as a parent to want to have my athlete play for and be around on a day-to-day basis. And I wish you nothing but success at USC Aiken. And if we can ever do anything here at the Blue Book, or I can ever do anything personally to help you in any capacity, I hope you take the time to reach out.
Coach, thank you so much for saying that. And again, I mean this. Thank you for all you do to grow our game and to help our young men become better people, better players. That's the only way to do it. And you guys have obviously been doing it right for years and years and years. And I hope that I've done a little bit of that and hope to continue to do that for years and years and years.
Well, I want to make sure that parents understand we're going to have all of Coach Gorman and all of the USC Aiken contact information, so that if you feel that this is a college that fits, you'll find out about their prospect camps. You can begin to communicate with your student athletes. I am going to squeeze one more question.
Yes.
Your prospect camps, have they been scheduled yet for USC Aiken?
They have not. They have not, but stay tuned. Those should be up in hopefully the next 10 days. So,
okay, great. And I'll make sure that we put that out. We'll put that all over the app, the Blue Book app, as well as our social media, to let parents know, because I know after this conversation, we're going to have a lot of parents that are going to want to reach out. So I'll have Coach Gorman's email. I'll have all of the USC Aiken dynamics for the baseball program on the description, both in the podcast as well as YouTube. Coach, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today.
Coach, thank you again. It was an honor to be here.